Can we get everybody to hold the noise down so you start the meeting? I'm sorry, recording is on.
Next on the agenda, we publish comments.
My name is Elaine Claggett. I live at 108 J Lane, Providence, North Carolina, and I'd like to have this recorded verbatim, please. According to the North Carolina Treasurer's website, 99 counties have completed their fiscal year 22 budget audit. 89 counties have completed their 23 audits. Over 60% of the counties utilized the Munis software. Lacking CPAs and finance department, and the county specialist position was created urgently in April of 22. However, in spite of qualified applicants and urging from Sharon Edmondson from LGC, North Carolina Treasurer's Office, it was never filled. Finance department's budget, meanwhile, has increased from $247,000 in 21 to $520,000 in fiscal year 24, more than doubled. John Sharp from NCACC has been an outstanding asset, trained staff on data entry within Munis system, and inclusions of up-to-date expenditures for the fiscal year 25 budget planning does demonstrate some significant progress within their department. Obviously, CPA consultant firm has continued to collect payment during 2024. Their only public outdate in 2 years was on March 6th of 23, and it was pretty scathing. The TSPA auditor's contract stated the fiscal year 22 audit would be complete by the end of April. It didn't happen. The TSPA auditor's contract also next stated that it would, the fiscal year 23 audit would be complete in May. That won't happen. The manager's update from May 6th reads, they provided the county with a list of questions and additional documentation that they needed on April 21st. The biggest outstanding piece for 23 is to complete the bank reconciliations for the main checking account. That's kind of important. I have requested a copy of this auditor's final list twice. I'm here today hoping that you as commissioners can facilitate this request. The last fund balance dates back to June 30th, 2021. Also, this is kind of redundant now from the last meeting. Caswell County tax assessments were received May 18th. Small initial sampling from residents shows a variation from 26 to 65% increase in appraised values of the homes. These homes did not have any significant capital improvements since the last assessment. In 2016, assessors had vehicles that clearly marked with reevaluation signage, and they left notices when they visited the properties. Explanations for increases were detailed at that time. In contrast, this year, no one came by our property, and there was zero information provided to delineate factors that contributed to these significant increases. So how do you know what to appeal? Residents have not received any explanation to account for the wide variances in percentage increases from house to house. Given the dramatic increase in assessment values, will the tax rate be correspondingly reduced significantly? I think that was answered earlier. So thank you for your time.
Next on the agenda, we recognition. Need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second. Motion made by, Blue, second by, Rick. All in favor, say aye. All opposed. Carried unanimously. Well, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. May the sixth. Made by Blue, second by Rick. All in favor, say aye. All opposed. Carried unanimously. County manager update.
First off, I would like to read it.
Skip solid waste. Of August.
Good afternoon. As you know, every 3 years, we have to rebid the hauling and the disposal for the solid waste for the county. So this is the year to do it, and it's a 3-year contract. I have Nick with me for First Piedmont. He's the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer. I believe all of you have a copy of the contract by email or paper. Sorry for the delay, but up until lunchtime today, we were negotiating, working out, trying to change some prices and to get savings from the original contract to bid. We only had one company to bid. We went back to the table, changed some policies and procedures where we could do things different, where we can haul the dumpsters to a different location, and we cut $55,000 from the first price to this price. Just a quick overview of it. Each site took about a 20.8% increase in hauling. Anderson was a little higher, 21.3%. The landfill open tops, where people haul their debris and stuff in, did go up to almost 50% increase. After we went back to the drawing board, I took a 23.5% decrease in the Cherry Grove hauling. So that's a savings. Typically, each site went up 6.9%. Other than the landfill, it went up 8.6%, and this is a 1-year price. Your contract will have the price for next year and the 3rd year as well. Cherry Grove, if you look on the contract and percentage it out, it was a 16.8%. But it used to be hauled to Upper Piedmont in Person County near Rougemont, but we're hauling to First Piedmont transfer station. So we're making the savings in the hauling. So we still, by increasing the tipping for Cherry Grove, we're saving about $2,500 this year. And you'll see a savings next year and the year after. Let's see. So to cover that cost, and I'm sure you want to know how we can cover that increase, because it increases significantly about, let me get to the right page, almost $181,000 increase from what we paid last year for our tipping and our hauling. So that's $181,000. So the way I've got it figured out, and if you want a copy of this, I can pass it out. I changed the tipping fee at the landfill to take over a lot of that cost, and then we would have to go up to each household $1 a month to cover that increase. But I've been through the budget. I was working on it yesterday. Talked to First Piedmont yesterday, met with them at 8 o'clock this morning. And then that's, we got the price difference at about 11 o'clock today. So just to give you an example, construction debris is now $60 a ton. I propose that we go to 75 a ton for it. Everything else would be at 65 a ton, with the exception of out of county residents. We do have some people that live at the edge of like Person, Alamance, Orange, Rockingham, Virginia, that come over and dump because we're a closer landfill facility than theirs. So I feel like we should charge them a little more than we do our county residents, and that would be set at $70 a ton as well. Nick, do you have anything you'd like to talk about the contract?
No, if anybody has any questions, I'll be.
That $1, how much was that?
It's $1 a month, so
Okay.
it would put it, it's currently $113 a year, it would put it at $120 a year.
You were talking about charging the out-of-state people more. What do they pay if they dump it in their counties? Are we still lower than we should be? Shouldn't we match at least what they would have had to pay if they had to dump it in say that?
So say Pennsylvania County, for example, if they go to their convenience site, they can throw couches and stuff away. Can you tell what your tipping rate is? If somebody would take construction debris to your landfill,
Starting off, I'd say probably $46.
So we're
high.
higher than most counties around because we have to pay to get rid of it. We don't actually bury the trash. Where Rockingham has an active landfill, Alamance has an active landfill, but a lot of people would rather pay the little bit extra tonnage and come here because they're gonna save it in the mileage and gas. And the only other thing I did do is I changed our dumpster rental, went up $20 to deliver a dumpster because of fuel. To help with the cost.
I know we talked about this a lot in the past and it kind of went silent, but what are we doing to address people from outside the county that don't illegally dump sites?
So if we can catch them and get a tag, I work with the sheriff's office to try to track them down. If I can catch them there, I can write them a civil ticket for out of county use, out of the ordinance. Or we can take them, get their name and stuff and take them to the master. Go to the master's office, get a criminal summons. But the DA and stuff says that they're an out of county, you better off to write the civil ticket than trying to get them to come to court, because if they don't show up, they're not gonna issue a warrant. In Virginia for throwing the trash out of state. We can run tags and we have been going back if an operator or some citizen calls and says, hey, Virginia tag, this time I go back and get the tag off the camera. I get the sheriff's office to run it and send an officer. If they're lucky to get somebody at home, then we'll talk to them, write them a ticket or tell them that, get their information and not come back. Same thing if we catch them from Person County, the 119 site has a lot of Person County lake people. We catch them, we try to work the sites and check and make sure it's county residents. The only way you can do it is ask them, are you a county resident? Can I see, do you have proof that you're a county resident? Because we don't do stickers or anything.
That was my next question. Should we be looking at some kind of sticker system where we give?
My honest answer would make my job easier and the operators, because if I pull up, and for example, I don't know what you drive. And so if you got North Carolina tags, I'm gonna assume you're a county resident. Okay, if you got Virginia tags, and I'm gonna immediately, if I pull up and see you, I'm gonna go up, tell you who I am, speak to you, figure out if you're a county resident. If you had the stickers, then you would know if they're a county resident or outside county resident. I could look at, what the cost of stickers would be, but you would have to set, each person gets 2 and then they gotta pay for the additional ones, depending on how many vehicles they have.
Well, that's when the property tax invoice is sent out. Who's paying the taxes. It wouldn't be that difficult to write the issue to.
You get a sticker for every vehicle you pay property tax to, I guess.
I think that's something we really ought to be looking at pursuing. Every time somebody dumps trash in a compactor around here, that they're not a tax-paying resident of Castle County, that puts the cost on everybody else in this county to get rid of that.
And then what else puts the cost is when even the citizens will leave couches and furniture and stuff at the site. We do go get them and make them clean it up, or we clean it up, and we write a ticket. If we can't find them, if their tags don't come back right, or we can't get their tag off the camera, then we gotta, eat the cost to get rid of it.
About the damage, at one point there was construction debris being thrown in and it damaged cylinders or something. Have you had any more of that?
Haven't had any more of that, but that particular one we took to court, and the court system, the judge made him pay the county back for the damages. So if they damage one, I'd immediately go to the master's office and let him decide what he wants to do and still write a civil ticket.
Well, I would like to see some more information on the sticker systems. Got away with it.
Okay, I'll check in with one of our vendors that we use for decals and stuff, see what they can do. You want it for the front windshield
Whatever's gonna be more convenient for y'all to enforce.
or the back windshield? We'll see what they can do.
Hey, Jay, is this, 181,000 included within your budget?
Yes. Now, I don't know what budget you have in front of you, because I just had to work on my budget. you know, when I got the new numbers, I had to change it. But yes, when you see my budget, it will be included in there. John and Mike can answer that a little better.
We worked on finalizing his budget this afternoon, and what you had that I gave to you at the work session is just the general fund. So what your paper doesn't include solid waste. But we've gone through his numbers and it balances with the new costs and his projected fee increases.
Is there any way to? I'm just thinking you say the dollar increase, but is there any way to get that off the taxpayer? And the reason I'm saying is and I'm not going off on a construction guy or whatever. If somebody comes to my house and puts a roof on, I pay for the material, I also pay for the disposal. In that,
So,
but the contractor can go according to this and dump the same amount, same fee.
no, I changed the fee for this year to $75 a ton. Can I, Chairman, can I pass this out? So the yellow is, what you'll see that's changed.
If that's $75 a ton, are you making the money or are you breaking even?
Depending on how much we can get in the dumpster. So that 75 puts us about, because we have to pay to haul it out of there, it puts us close. The more we can get in the dumpster to get out of there, depending on how much we can compact it, the better off we are.
Well, it's one thing, the homeowner coming by there and putting their stuff.
Right.
If it's construction, that should be a whole lot different.
Right, so I have it, it's set $10 higher than the homeowner, like miscellaneous and stuff like that. I have it set $10 higher. For the years in the past, it was all the same, but I got to thinking it's not really fair. We're going up $1, and then if you got a couch or something, you're a county resident, you should get a little bit of a break. So I had to go up $5, you know, on the home, you know, on the regular stuff, but I went up $10 on construction. I mean, we can move that up a little bit and see if we can, you know, adjust, but I don't get I pulled a report and it's only about 2,000 tons of construction debris. That's construction debris only, nothing else mixed with it a year. So that's how I would have to charge it. So I put it all in a thing, changed numbers, worked on it, trying to get the 100 to get it down for only $1 a month. When I originally, before we went back to the drawing board, we were almost $2 or $3 a month somewhere. We were at over $130 some.
I do understand that there's a fine line there, because if you price it up so high, you might have shingle goes.
Right, and then we're gonna have to go get them with the state with our truck, and then we're gonna eat the cost 100%.
But, you know, I do think that, like you said, there should be just a little bit more there than the taxpayers that are already paying for this solid waste fee. They want to carry their stuff, they shouldn't pay the same thing as somebody.
Right, I totally agree. That's why I changed it this year. In the years past, it was all the same, but I felt like we should change it this year. I mean, we could add another $5 a ton to the construction, but like you say, it doesn't mean they're gonna dump it on the side of the road, doesn't mean they're gonna come to him. We have a roofer that comes to us a lot, and he comes out of Virginia because he doesn't want to get in the mud, he wants to stay on the concrete. But I mean, if we put it so high,
This contract has to be signed by July 1st.
yes. So if you wanna approve it tonight, fine, I'm not asking you to, that's totally up to y'all. But I've changed the numbers a lot to keep it low.
You said that, you only have one bid on the contract.
Yes, sir.
Do we have restrictions or something in place that's making these companies not want to bid on? How do we only have one place?
So we put it on the website. I've sent it to everybody 3 years ago that didn't send interest. I emailed it personally to them. I had one company send me questions back. I answered their questions, sent out an update to everybody just that I sent the original to. I had one company, First Piedmont, sent in the contract. So they got a copy of what the current rate says. You know, so they knew what we were paying because it's public record. I had to give it to them. So I don't know if they didn't think they could, with, increase, if they could beat them. I don't know.
I've got one question. And I've been asked this by a couple of citizens. If a family rented a dumpster first people, they established it in a location where they wanted to dump all their trash. They paid for it, paid first people to come pick it up. Can they get this solid waste fee off of their tax bill if they can show that they are paying somebody's bigger trash?
So one of them can. So for example, if you and 3 of your neighbors do it, they're only gonna take it off of one person.
Why would we want-
I can't answer that question. We could check with Mr. Bernard because that's the way I've always been told. The bills are sent out through the tax department and it's handled through them. I would be afraid to answer you why, but that's the way I've always been told. It's one household. So if you and your family did one and y'all got 3 houses, you would get the fee cut off of one house, not all 3. And just remember, this fee also covers recycling. So we're taking care of the citizens recycling for that fee as well. And we haul that all ourselves.
If that particular property owner has a dumpster that they're leasing first people, all the residences that they own is exempt.
I'd have to get that answer.
I believe it is. Mr. Johnson, have you looked at this?
Yes, sir. Commissioner McVeigh, Mr. Hughley and I had several conversations last week about this contract. Judith, all the language seems pretty straightforward. There's an indemnification clause against the counties, if the county is held liable for the issues the first month they had. But like Mr. Hughley said, it doesn't have to be passed tonight. We have until July 1st. If you had any other questions from Mr. Hughley, any other, you wanted to explore any other options, that would be advisable.
And the reason I just checking that number, because the reason I'm asking, like mobile home park. They got a dumpster in that mobile home park. I can't see 20 mobile homes get assessed that fee.
So I do know in mobile home parks, if they have a dumpster, they're not assessed a fee. But if they are not, there's one that is not, and they agree to pay the fee. So every mobile home in that mobile home park pays the fee. Because it's in the county ordinance, if you have so many homes and in a mobile home park, you have to provide a dumpster, or either everybody in that facility has to pay the fee. And I will be honest with you, I looked at possibly what it would cost us to buy trucks and do the hauling ourselves, but we're getting a discount on the tipping rate for First Piedmont, so it would not be a savings. We would probably cost us more than what we're paying them to do it all for us. Because we own our boxes, we own the packers, we own the compactors. So I mean, that's an option. So if another company wanted to come in, we have all the equipment.
So we are only paying first month for the hauling.
And the tipping to dispose of the trash, yes, sir.
We own all the other equipment.
Yes, sir, and we do all the maintenance to it. So we're not leasing any equipment for them. The only thing First Piedmont owns, if you like outside here, they own the front loaders, and in their deal, they give them to us for free, and we have 4 of their open top boxes we use at the landfill. Other than that, we own everything else. The packer boxes that go them down the road, they're our boxes.
I know in the past that some farmers had family in Lexington, they had these dumpsters there, and they only paid for one dumpster. If a family didn't pay the same price, didn't pay for one time.
Right, I'd have to check. So I went to get the total number for the budget. I went off of the number of households we used last year for the number. And we had a 97% collection rate. So I did that number of households and 97% collection rate.
Attorney, I think maybe we need to look into that, see if there's any person in the county that have dumps and family use to use that dumps to put it in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll be glad to consult with Mr. Dupuy, and I think, the tax director, Mr. Bernard, will be that answer. Okay, sir.
Any more questions? Thanks, so see you.
Good evening. A couple of months ago, you all approved a budget amendment to accept state money, $141,000, which we will get every year for the next 5 years. And the plan at the time was to use that money for a part-time nurse practitioner, a community health worker, and then a portion of it to be given as bonuses for a few of our key staff members. And they would be staff that we find hard to replace if they leave, and that would be environmental health staff, nurses, and our health educator. We've had a really hard time filling those positions. And so originally the idea was to give a retention bonus to those people so that we could keep them and not have to try to recruit. We have not been able to fill this fiscal year for the nurse practitioner or the community health worker. And so I would like your permission to use a portion of that money to give a retention bonus to all of my staff. The total would be $71,000. The remainder of that money would roll over to next year and we would use it. We're still planning on hiring a nurse practitioner. We just don't want to lose the money from the state. Anybody have any questions?
You say, you just money that goes back to the state.
It doesn't technically go back. We'll get it next year. We're coming up on the end of the fiscal year. And what I don't want to happen is us to get to the end of the 5 years and not have used it and they give it to another county. So I'd like to use at least a portion of it this fiscal year.
Say it's one time.
A one-time bonus. It's all state money. There's no county dollars. And it shouldn't affect the budget overall because the money is there. It's in the personnel expenditures. It just would be a matter of moving it to a bonus line item instead of a salary line item.
If we approve this for select employees and health department, what does that send as a message to the rest of the county employees that are not getting bonus like that? Doesn't that demean them?
I don't mean to belittle any other county employees. I think they all deserve bonuses, but I just happen to have this state money and it can be used for this.
Are there other purposes we could use that state money for?
This state money is all for public health workforce infrastructure. So it can be used for hiring, retention, and recruitment. And those are the things it can be used for.
And you got 5 years to use it before it goes back. So if you didn't use it this year, you could apply it to the salary for people you're trying to hire next year.
Yes.
So I don't see the urgency to give out bonuses.
Have you used any of it? This 140?
We haven't
So you
used
haven't-
any of it.
Did he-
We didn't get it till late in the fiscal year. We didn't get it in the beginning with the rest of our state grant. We got it after the, I guess, after the, one of the sessions of the legislature. So I mean, I think the answer to that is I don't want to lose any staff. I already have positions I can't fill. The urgency would be to give them some incentive to stay. Because if we don't have those positions, our state mandated programs, we may not be able to run them efficiently. So that's the urgency for
Why
it.
wasn't this put in as part of the budget process instead of special appropriations? Paid out? In other words, I've seen several times over the years on the board that come up with one department or another wants to do a special one-time appropriation to give this employee more money or give this group bonuses. And we talked about it over and over again that all those requests need to be brought in at budget time and taken into consideration when we're going over the overall finances of the county and not just doing it piecemeal.
I agree with you, and I really do try to do that, but as I just said, we didn't get this money until well into the fiscal year. So
If you have 5 years to spend it, what's the hurry to shell it out?
it is my understanding that we get this money every year for 5 years. It'll be $141,000 every year for 5 years. The state can decide that they're not gonna give us that money if we're not spending it, and they can give it to another county who is spending it. It's not every year we are waiting to see what the state is gonna give us. And most of the time, a lot of the state money, such as our COVID funds, we didn't know about during the budget year. It is rolled over, but we didn't know it until we get that contract with the state. We don't know what that money is gonna be. So if we don't spend it, it's a gamble. We may get it, we may not.
And what is the timeline on that again?
It,
When did you receive?
I received, you guys had a budget amendment a couple of months ago. And the service period, I don't have, I'd have to get back to you, Mr. Dickerson, on it, but we didn't have it in June. We
Correct.
had it, it was
Correct me if
later
I'm
in
wrong.
the year.
If we didn't have it in June, so that means that we recently got it.
We did,
And they
within
do
the
it every
last few
year,
months.
so we've got at least until next June to decide on this.
We
can
do.
do this during the budget process.
Sure,
Doesn't need to be approved as an action item on the meeting and spur of the moment, request of the department. What I don't like about requests like this where you're caught off guard is here we are as a board and it's on here as an action item and we've had no time to consider the ramifications across the board with other county employees. And I feel like we put between a rock and a hard place and I don't like to have that happen.
I respect that. You did, though, approve a budget amendment that did give bonuses to some staff a couple of months ago. I'm just asking you to give that to all staff in my department instead of just the few. We're already approved to give it to a few staff. I'd just like to give it to all staff.
So in other words, you got the door open a little bit, now you open it a whole lot wider for the rest of them.
No, that was not my intention. That sounds very manipulative,
It does.
and that's not what I did because
Quite, I mean, that's what I'm thinking about this whole.
I
conversation.
have a nurse practitioner job posted and have been actively recruiting. We are at the end of the state fiscal year and I haven't been able to hire. So
Well, if this
As
started
an
over the
employee,
next half, you
and-
can pay that job even more than what it's advertised at, and maybe you would get people to apply for
I
that.
will be able to next year, but what about the other 5 years when I only get $141,000?
Well, we'll have to cross each bridge as we get to it.
Yes, sir. We will.
Any more questions for the board? Please, thank you, Ms. Eastwood. I guess we'll come up with that something on this.
Oh, so are you tabling it? We're not gonna take any action on it one way or the other?
Take it to the next week. That'll be okay with the board.
Mr. Chairman, I will have to stay from voting in this matter. In fact, my daughter is an employee there, that's what, Cameron attorney this morning concerning it, and he said we didn't take conflict of interest. And I think that's what I'm doing. The questions from the board.
That's it. 6 months. What's the pleasure of vote? Okay, we'll make a motion down the field.
I'll make a motion to table it to the next meeting.
Okay, look for
I'll make a motion to table it to the next meeting.
second. Dixon made the motion to table to the next meeting, second, vote. All in favor, saying aye. All opposed? Let's table to the next meeting. Next on the agenda be Scott. American 250, North Carolina University.
So the Caswell County Historical Association has reached out, apparently, for the 250th anniversary of the United States, the state has funds. And they'd like to get the $10,000 grant to do some ceremonial issues with the state. Every county is entitled to apply for this grant, so it's kind of like a divvy out block grant for $10,000 to do ceremonial purposes. So if you would acknowledge that they can form a committee asking the Historical Association to receive this $10,000. There is a resolution attached. So I would just need you to take an action of motion on this. And if you want to do so, I will let it know. And we'll have a fight for the funds and budget for and be accepted.
Is there any strings attached to this?
There's no strings, it's all, it's basically a shared grant, so each county gets so much.
No match to it.
I guess if you choose to do so, it's the motion.
No, yeah.
No match, it's basically an amount of money for them to be, you have to apply for the money to use for the ceremony purposes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to let them receive it. To receive it, sale. Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Ed, second by Vincent, to receive the money and the motion with the question. All in favor, saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Next on the agenda, county manager update.
So the first item I have for you is sort of an action item. I just need an approval or a motion. The Casual Senior Services recommends renewing their meal contract with Golden Corral for 2 more years. Their price went down from $5.21 to $5.11 per meal. And I just need to have a motion to accept their bid. They're the only one that bid on that. It's a reduced cost. So if you are okay with us continuing the meal service with Golden Corral, I'd like to have a motion so that it's for me. We just got this after the topic was set on.
Make a motion to take that.
I second that. You made a motion?
Yes, sir.
Motion made by Lewis, second by Dixon. Y'all heard the motion, any question? All in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, carried unanimous.
And then just an update on our CAB grant. They're having training in June. The procedures and training, we're gonna have an evaluation team discuss their scope of work. So basically, there's an additional CAB broadband one. They have every county has to have a representative. They go to the training and then they basically select the most important. So Lisa has been stepping up for me, all of them on that. Appreciate that. It's been amazing. So that's just an update. I don't have any other updates except for the contractor was in the building all day today at the old courthouse doing the sound system. So I want to make sure it works and that Jason, everybody understands how to test it and make sure everything's functional before we move from this facility back into the meeting chambers. I would hope that that's possible by the next meeting. I will let you know as soon as I can.
County manager, have we had any contact with Zytel lately?
So they've been reaching out to us and Melissa might have a better. Their contract is voided and they opted out, so they don't.
What Spectrum and Speed picked up those when the state had to rebid them out. And, I don't know, I'm assuming that where they got that bid back out, that the contracts are in negotiations in the works with doing, from my understanding, the Spectrum and Brightspeed will take that over, because since ITEL took on board that they could chew basically, and they had to rescind on the contracts.
We're in a public meeting, but the state director told me not to take the notes. Which is pretty strong stance from the director of the state.
Fine. Any questions for County manager?
Coach Square.
So the tenants, it is reopened in the back, and we're not having any large gatherings. Can't really have like a public meeting because the egress, the building inspector wants to make sure that the front egress is open. But so we do have tenants back. You know, it's 27 days on the brick. You heard that last time. So as soon as that's cured, they'll have a door and we're sure to take the long to get it finalized. We'll be a week after that. We're working with the adjuster, we're trying to make sure all the payments and all the things are squared away, so. It's going pretty smoothly, other than the front portion, it's complete.
Ready?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you. At your last meeting, I was requested to research ordinance that regulates solar farms in the county. And specifically as it relates to a decommissioning plan and a potential bond for that decommissioning of the project. So I have an insert here to pass out to the board. And this is the language that is currently in our HIDO ordinance that regulates solar farms. I'll pass this out. Commissioners, if you look at the bottom of the page, I have the decommissioning plan highlighted. So that plan is pretty standard as it relates to state statutes, other municipalities in the state of North Carolina, but we do not have a requirement for a bond. It's my understanding that most private contracts between the solar farms and landowners do have this language. However, we do not. But we are allowed by state law to require a bond if we choose to implement that, add that to our HIDO. And in my research, the state statutes and other county ordinances across the state, it looks like on average, we can require an amount equal to 1.25 times the estimated decommissioning cost as determined by North Carolina licensed engineer. And we can have this under the purview of the planning director, the county manager, and myself as the county attorney. Now, I spoke with Jason Wallington earlier today, our county planner, and they do have this solar farm language added as an agenda item for the next planning. So it looks like they're already planning to discuss this. So this board could obviously take action, or we could wait for the planning board recommendation, but that'll be in your discretion.
Somebody sent me something. I think about a year ago. I can't find it. But it was about chemicals that were in these things. And I can't find, and I cannot remember what it was, but do you know anything about it or?
Yes, sir. I think Commissioner McVeigh had asked this question at the last meeting. So the EPA and NC Diener, North Carolina Department of Environment and Natural Resources and Water Quality, they have put out opinions on the toxicity levels in the solar panels. And it's really across the board, Commissioner Holt. It depends on which solar panels are used, the amount of chemicals that they have in them. But the EPA does have a hazardous waste, hazardous materials process. These items have to be monitored and disposed of properly. And that's certainly something we can add into our local ordinance to invite the EPA and the NC Diener to monitor this process.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we get stuck having to clean it up, that'll come in on the cost.
Certainly, and I think that's where the bond comes into play.
Yeah.
The bond will have to be in place. The value of the bond will be determined by a North Carolina licensed engineer, and it'll have to be renewed. The insurance have to be presented to either the county planner, county manager, or myself.
How does that work if you require the bond to be put up and they do it initially? Who keeps up with it to make sure that that's still in place over the years that the solar farm's in operation?
Yes, sir. That'll be up to administration.
And check the bond, we just verify.
So it's too late to do a bond on the 400-acre site that's going in off of what King Road. Yeah,
I'm not sure the stage of that process. Have they started construction?
I think so. I know they've done all the grading and stuff.
Okay. We can certainly inquire, but they're probably grandfathered.
That's what I'm figuring, but we should have been on the ball before that. That's covering 400 acres of southern boundary a lot.
But I will say this, through my research, the EPA certainly keeps close tabs on these projects, so.
Good.
So all that's gonna be discussed by the planning board and chemical release, any of that.
That's my understanding, Commissioner Jefferson.
Any question, anyone has something for
Another question about another issue for the county attorney. At the last meeting, the subject of, running dogs brought up. And you were asked to check about the ordinance and how it works on game lands. And I've got several phone calls on this issue, and I was asked that question, so I'd like to find out what you found out when you inquired.
Certainly, Commissioner, and it's my understanding that that issue is, according to staff, was not added as an action item and was basically, quote, dead in the water. But I did conduct the research based upon your request, from the last meeting. And studied the state statutes, also reached out to the Wildlife Resources Commission, reached out to, put in a phone call to Bronson Hanna, our local, wildlife agent, on wildlife game lands, and eventually made contact with the, Wildlife Resource Commission in Raleigh. And they indicated that, basically any county ordinance that's passed, for instance, if there was a local ordinance that applied to hunting with dogs, if that was passed in Caswell County, then the wildlife game land would have to respect that law, and that would have to be enforced on the game lands as well.
I would not have thought that. I would have figured that state law would reign supreme and them having control of the game lands, they would have the ultimate thought.
That was my initial thought as well, Commissioner, but I found out otherwise.
I just feel like that's not our decision to be made. If that is the decision that somebody wants to be changed, it needs to be changed in Graham at the district wildlife. Not by 7 people that some of us don't even deer hunt. So I hope this issue does not come back up.
Everything else?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Jeffries, also, there was a question about, our economic developer, Tony Smith, and, delinquent taxes that were listed in the newspaper. Mr. Smith did reach out to me and he indicated that, his properties are listed under Anthony Wayne Smith and that he doesn't, own any property on the Burke Road in Pelham. But I think that will be it under, my updates, Commissioner Jeffries, but I do have a few items to bring up in closed session.
Any sort of,
Now, just for clarification, that question about Mr. Smith, that came from me. The dog running one did not come from me. When you were talking, you said that I didn't bring that up.
Oh, okay. I didn't mean to convey that, Commissioner. That's correct.
and nothing else, to go to the commission having comments, we'll start with. Rose.
Yes, I would like to extend my condolences and prayers to the family that, we had a tragedy this weekend in the county. After life in a tragic situation. Just like the board to remember them in the prayers, as well as the fire department, EMS, sheriff's department. I think it was a pretty tough thing this weekend. That's all.
I would like to share with you, I did go by the senior center. And as you know, Jeanine was out with her husband's death, but it was a grant available from PTRC, and usually she does it or I could do it. And I asked if I need to go ahead and do the grant writing since she's gonna be out for 2 months, I think, from the death of her husband. But she's gonna be working some from home, so she's gonna do it. Also, the family of John D. Foster asked me if I had anything to say it has been in regards to him being a commissioner, and I express our condolence.
Thank you. Anyone else remember May the 27th, 2024, Memorial Day of the county office to be closed. June the 3rd, 2024, Board of Commissioners meeting and budget work session at 5 o'clock. We gotta don't forget that long. And now we need a motion for the closed session.
So move.
Second, moved by Tim and second by Lee. That's in closed session.